Hey, welcome back to Turntable Guy. This is part two of the Pioneer speaker restoration series that I've started. The last video is available to view. It's just an overview of these speakers that I found and I'm going to restore. This is the woofer off of one of the speakers here. As you saw in the original video, the woofer surrounds were completely deteriorated. So I have ordered some replacement foams, and here they are. They have arrived. And nothing special. They're 300 millimeter foams, and they're going to fit quite nicely in here. But before you can do any of this, you have to prepare the speaker before you begin, putting it in place and gluing it. And one of the issues with most foam replacements is that the original foams are actually glued underneath the cone. So the foams would sit, this little lip here would sit underneath the cone, and the glue would be applied there. Now, for aftermarket replacement, that's really not the easiest thing to accomplish, to get that underneath there, because you're going to get glue all over the place. Now, can it be done? Absolutely. And I am going to just have a quick look at the possibility of doing that. Most of the times that I've done, actually all the time that I've done speaker foam replacement, I have just placed the foam replacement on top of the cone and glued it down. There are some good points and bad points to that. Obviously, when it's tucked in behind, it's almost naturally held in place while it dries. Whereas when you're working from it from behind, you're always pressing it in place and trying to center it. Now, I am going to do these without shimming the center voice coil. I have never done one where I've shimmed the center voice coil, and I've never had an issue with rubbing. Now, if you're really, a stickler for it, you're going to have to cut out the dust cone, and you're going to have to get your shims in there if you want to center this. Again, I've never had a problem centering my replacement foams onto the cone. And I've never had any rubbing or voice coil issues. So, but the only thing I'm going to do here a little bit different is I just want to look at the possibility of getting these back underneath. And there's a little trick to doing that. You kind of got to get the foam in there, then slide it down, and then slide it back to get it all tucked in and underneath. So, but we'll look at that when we get there. I think I'm definitely going to go with the foam on top. It's easier. It's exactly the same. There's no difference in sound. There's no difference in the suspension of the driver. So you can go either route. One thing I'll say is that when it's tucked behind, it looks a little cleaner. As you can see here, there is already pre-existing glue on here that we're going to have to clean off. And as I mentioned in the first video, working on this one's going to be a little bit different because this cone material is not paper or polypropylene. This is some kind of composite graphite, and it is extremely brittle. So you can't bend it, and there's not a lot of play. You have to be very careful because when it cracks, and then it's game over. So let's start by turning this over. I just want to have a look at the back here. So one of the things you have to do, if you're going to do a rear mounting, where you're actually mounting it behind, you're going to have to remove all the pre-existing foam that's on the cone. Now, as you can see, the foam is all on the back here. So that has to be removed. And this is a long and tedious process. Now, what has worked well for me in the past is alcohol and a Q-tip. And like I mentioned, whoops, I just spilled alcohol over the speaker. Just let me dry that off. Not going to hurt anything. If anything, it's going to soak the foam nicely there. So basically, you just want to get the alcohol in a place like that, and then you're literally going to start rubbing. And this is going to be a dirty mess. there's nothing pretty about this. The alcohol will dissolve the foam. Now the pre-existing foam is already pretty much, dead to begin with. But what you're doing here is you're just going to go around and round and round, and you're going to remove the existing foam and whatever adhesive is on there just by rubbing. And you're going to make a sloppy, awful mess. That's why it's probably a good idea to, I use a little, what's this called, a Lazy Susan, to help me. It also helps when you're installing the cone. It gives you a nice, or the foam, it gives you a nice way to spin the cone without having to turn the whole speaker. As you can see here, this is a disgusting job, but it's also a necessary job if you're going to refoam from the back. Now, somebody might say it's probably just a necessary job just to get rid of that old foam, because it's gonna continue to deteriorate, and it's probably going to end up all inside the cabinet. Not that it's going to cause any major issues or anything, but it's definitely something you want to get rid of, right? You don't want it in there. So this is going to be step one. This is going to be extremely long and boring process. Now, I am not going to make you suffer through this process. So through the magic of editing, I will return and this foam will have disappeared. So I'm going round and round, removing the old foam. And as you can see, there it is, all disintegrated and on my Lazy Susan, shaking off some of the mess here. So yeah, it's a messy job. And then what you're going to want to do is, you really don't want this stuff getting into your cone. I mean, it's harmless. And actually, one of the nice things about this graphite cone is that it's impervious to water or any kind of fluid. I shouldn't say water, but so the alcohol is not softening the cone at all. And I'm rubbing it, and I'm protecting it from behind, so I'm not putting any pressure on it. I'm just going around and cleaning the front of the cone here. It's still a little bit crunchy around the edges here, so that needs to be scraped off. This is a messy job. There's just no way around it. But if you want to do it right, take your time. Get all the old foam off. You don't want that crap sitting in your new speakers. Just peel off all the old stuff. I'm going to continue on with this. Just go around and remove dirt and dust and all the rest of it, and get these drivers beautiful, just like brand new. And I'm going to clean off my Lazy Susan because it's full of gross stuff. I think I'll just bring that to the sink and give that a wash. So I shall return. Okay, our cone looks really good. It's been cleaned from the back side. There's a little bit of glue on just the outer edge here. Just scrape that back a little bit, real gentle. So let's have a look now. Now, I still have not removed this retaining ring here. That's got to come off. This is a solid piece of rubber, and it looks like it's glued down, so that might be a bit of a pain in the butt to remove. But let's have a look at our new foams here, and I'll show you what you need to do if you want to put them underneath. So you need to get as much of them underneath as possible. And like I said, it's not easy. You need to tuck it in as much as you can. And then you need to pull it forward so it's inwards. That way you can tuck this side in. This is why I prefer the new cone on top method until you've got it all underneath. It seems like it's fighting you somewhere. And just imagine if you had wet, fresh glue on that. It'd be getting everywhere. So Okay, right about there is where I would say is the perfect position. So we're down here on the cone, and I just want to show you how we're going to remove this ring here that goes around the edge. I'm going to use like a spatula, and I'm just going to get underneath like that and start lifting it a little bit at a time. You have to remember that the existing foam that was under there is under here as well. So once you get this rubber ring off, you're going to have to scrape the entire edge of the basket to remove all that foam under here. And you might want to use alcohol again. So I'm going to start, and I've already loosened this edge here, and I'm going to work my way around, and I'm going to clean that, and then I'll pick it up with you when I'm done. I fought with that a little bit. I ran the spatula all around the edge here and kind of went in on an angle and cut my way all the way around. But then it was still really stuck, so I had to go around very gently with a screwdriver and just work it around the outer edge. And now we've got our trim ring, which is solid rubber. This needs to be cleaned. We got to get all that foam off of there. And even more annoying is we got to get all this foam off of here. This basket edge has to be spotless. So again, we're going to attack it with isopropyl alcohol. As you can see, it's very brittle. That's probably, it's not the rubber. I'm sure it's whatever's left of the foam. It's probably a little bit more preserved under that rubber piece. So I'm going to take this outside because this is a messy job. And I also have to be really careful with this basket. I need as much light as possible because I'm going to be using a utility knife to scrape this after I've soaked it with alcohol. Hopefully the alcohol does the trick, but I don't think it will. But anyway, I'm heading outside because I don't want all this mess in the house, and I'll catch you when I get back. Okay, the scraping is done, so the edges of the basket are clean. You are going to get some ugliness. You're using a utility knife or razor blade or whatever, so you're going to get some scrapage, but you have to get the glue and the old foam off. And I've made a decision. I am going to mount this foam from the bottom like the factory did. And it just seems like a better way to do it on this one because the cone is self-placing, so to speak. So there's the edge. So it sits perfectly where it's supposed to sit. And if you have the correct foam, the correct dimensions, it'll sit exactly in the crease where it's supposed to. So that means no playing around and trying to center the foam on the cone. This thing is centered all by itself. Now, I've seen a few instructions on the web, on YouTube and places like that. And a lot of guys, what they do is they go around, they push down, and they put glue in here, and they work their way around. But you have to get it on that part of the foam where my finger is. I was thinking, why don't we do this from the back side? And sorry for my fingers there. Again, I like how the foam self-levels. So I was thinking, if we get our trim ring here, put it on, just put it in position, so to speak. You don't have to glue it down or anything yet, obviously. And then we turn this over. Here, let me turn this over. I'll be right back. Okay, we're turned over. See, now you can see the foam. It's right there. All you have to do is run a little bead of glue here and just make sure that this is centered all the way around. I mean, these parts in here might be a little tricky, but I don't think it's going to be a huge problem. And this thing is self-leveled, self-centered, so to speak. It can't move. I'm going to put it on my my Lazy Susan, of course, but that gives you an idea how I'm going to do this. So all I'm going to do is just lift the foam, get some glue around there. Probably use a Q-tip or a little brush or something. I'm going to be using just some Eileen's tacky glue. This stuff here, you can get this anywhere. Walmart, Michael's, any kind of craft store. I've done tons of speakers with this stuff. It sticks great. And we're just going to tack that all the way around. Just press it down. Then once we've got it in place, we'll turn it back over. See how the foam ring stayed there. And this thing's heavy. And then we'll just continue to push it down from the top. And you can see how, I don't know if you can you see how that part is just kind of flattened out a little bit? So all you got to do to get it back in position is just lift. And it's back in place. So it's really cool that you can't make a mistake here. All right, we are all set up here. And I've got the speaker ring installed around the edge here. And it is supporting the basket. So I want to make sure it's in the proper position. So it's sitting in the correct spot all the way around. There we go. So that'll support the ring, or the foam, in the exact correct position. And it's going to be so easy to get a little bead of glue under here. And then once we get a bead all the way around, I will turn it over and we'll start patting it down and getting the glue to set up. Again, I'm using a little bit of Eileen's. I've had it sitting upside down for the last 15 or 20 minutes just to get the glue to the front of the nozzle. Nothing more annoying than when you're trying to apply glue. You don't want to be squeezing too hard and then get air pockets while you're doing it. It's not a big deal. I mean, you can spread it with your finger a little bit. It's water soluble, so it's not a big deal. But I like to have all the glue at the top of the bottle. That way I don't have to squeeze very much. And I've got this cut to where I get a nice bead all the way around. Okay, so let's start. Now, the one difficulty I do foresee, I mean, not difficulty, but a little bit of a challenge, is when I'm trying to get underneath the basket rings here. I'm going to use a little Q-tip just to get in there and smear the glue. Shouldn't be a huge deal. I've seen I've already got some glue coming out here, which I don't want. And so if we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6, yep, to get through. So it's going to be like that, smear a little bit, get it down. So here we go. And this Eileen's really doesn't have a nice long neck. Okay, so maybe plan change a little bit here. I can see why this is a little bit more of a difficulty. Like I'm doing this with you guys for the first time. I've never done one of these DSS-7s before. So, and I've never done a reverse basket or reverse inside foam like that. I just want to see how hard this is going to be. Well, if my head gets in the way, I apologize now. I just want to get a steady stream of glue going. I guess the nice thing about being on the back side here is that you don't have to worry too much about the beauty of it. I should really leave my bottle like that. So there's our basket area here. So we started here, right beside there, so just to remember. So this is a water-soluble glue, so you don't have to worry about if you get some in a bad spot or if you miss a spot. Just go with your Q-tip or whatever, you should be fine. You can clean up any excess glue that you put on the cone with a little bit of water afterwards. We're almost all the way around. It goes by pretty fast. I think we're here. This is tough. Where that, I did it there. Stan White's. Yeah, this Eileen's bottle is a little bit difficult to work with on a rear mount. I think what I'll do is I'll just go around with the Q-tip now and just make sure we got good smearage all the way around. Okay, let's start pressing this in a little bit here. Maybe we'll do our flip over now. Here you can see where our cone is. Just make sure it's in the right spot. You can see the glue there. And you can press up from the bottom just to get that initial tackiness down here. Just working it in. Eileen's dries clear, so you don't have to worry about if you put a little bit too much in one spot. So all we're trying to do is make sure that we've got good adhesion between the foam and the cone. So I'm running my finger underneath. While I'm pressing down from the top. And that'll compress the glue a little bit as well and make a thin layer. You can see it squeezing out a little bit from the sides. But this is perfectly centered all the way around, which is really nice. And if it's off a little bit, you can adjust from the back side or the front side. I'm just going to keep doing this. Keep working my way around. Pushing up from the bottom and pushing down from the top. It does not take very long for this to start setting up, especially if you use a fairly thin layer. It'll start to dry pretty quick. Just gonna have a peek here. There's a couple spots that I think could use a little bit more. There's my ring. So I'm going to keep working at this. There's a couple spots that have popped up here. And I'll be right back. So it's been about, 10 minutes. I'm still working this. It is a little unusual, and I'm going to guess as to why. The difference being I've never done a cone made out of this material before, this graphite. So my guess is that it's taking the glue a little bit longer than usual to set up here because the cone is not paper. Usually when you use a glue like Eileen's or any kind of white glue, it sticks to paper really fast and really easy. But this material here is taking a little bit more, and I'm getting a little bit of lifting now and again. I've reapplied the glue in several areas, and it is starting to set up now. But once in a while, I'll go around and I'll see a little spot that's lifted up. And that's a little bit different. I haven't had that situation before. So this is all new to me. And I'm thinking it has to do with this, this graphite cone. So especially this area here, it really lifted. I really had to apply another pretty good layer of glue down here to get it to finally stick down. So anyway, I will carry on. I am really pleased how this has turned out. By putting the foam from underneath, and I mentioned about almost the self-centering where this cone meets the edge of that foam there perfectly. If you have a look at the edge of the foam, you can see where the speaker screw holes are and how the foam just goes about, I don't know, a millimeter or two into that hole all the way around. So you just know it's like perfectly centered, eh? So this is really good. So I'm going to let this set up for about, I'm going to say about an hour, and then I'm going to come back, and then we're going to glue the foam down to the metal basket. And because it's kind of self-centering, we won't have to worry too much about it. Like right now, when I push from underneath, I get no basket rub. If I push here, there's rub, 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 rub. But pushing equidistant on it, no rub. Moving the spider up and down, no rub. So this is turning out better than expected, and we get that factory look. The only thing I'm a little disappointed in is looks like the rubbing alcohol has taken off a little bit of whatever finish was on the cone. There's a little bit of discoloration in these areas here. Not a big deal. I usually never listen to my speakers with the speaker grill cloths off, so I'm not too worried about it. But more importantly is how it's going to sound and how it's going to work, and the fact that we didn't need to remove the dust cap and use shims. That's the best thing. No rub at all. So anyway, I'm going to let this sit for an hour, then we'll come back and we will glue the foam to the basket. Okay, it's been about 4 hours actually. I actually went back to the my home office here and did some work, and now I'm back here at lunch, and this is set up 100%. Just looking around here, it's centered beautifully. Everything is stuck, no problems anywhere. So now we're going to attach our foam to the frame. And again, I'm going to use the same stuff. I'm just going to use some Aleene's. You can put a little bit of a thicker bead around here. You don't have to be super neat. I mean, it doesn't really matter because you're going to put the trim ring on top. But again, I'm just looking around here, and it has settled in perfectly. It is in the exact same position all around those screw holes. So pretty happy with that. All right. So this is real simple. But it's also very critical because you can't have the cone off center. Now, because it's attached to the, the foam, not the cone. I keep getting those two words mixed up. The foam is centered on the cone. And because of that, we should have no issues making sure that it's centered within here. But we're going to keep testing. We're going to be pushing on the sides. We're going to be pushing parallel like this, making sure that we've got no rub on our voice coil. But let's start applying our bead of glue. So we're just going to lift here, and we're going to put a nice bead all the way around. And yeah, that's about the right spot right there. Like I said, you don't have to be super precise. You just want to get a nice bead all the way around. I have cleaned the edge of the basket here with alcohol several times now, and it's super clean. And here we come. All right. So just let it naturally go down. I think we're done with our glue now. And just start tapping that down in the natural position. Don't smear it around yet. Just tap it down. Let it start to get adhesion going. What you don't want to be doing is stretching it like this. Okay? Make sure it's in its natural resting spot. And again, we're going to check our cone. We're just going to keep pressing down on this area. We're going to start to get that glue smeared around underneath. Always checking. Somebody said that you can use the backside of a Sharpie to kind of roll it. Saw that online. Again, keep checking. See, now we don't have any basket or voice coil rub because we're perfectly centered. Just keep working your foam until it sits flat. A couple spots here where I could put a little bit more, I think. Spot here. If you do get some glue that comes out, don't worry about it. Just spread it back. And do that. Don't forget, you're going to be putting the trim ring on top of this, right? So it doesn't have to be pretty. So you get the idea of what's going on here. I'm going to continue on just working this, making sure it's nice and centered, checking always. Make sure you got no voice coil rub on all 4 sides, or 8 sides if you want to go diagonally. And I've got nothing here. Cone's moving nicely. So just keep checking that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to let this glue set up. And then we're going to put our trim ring in place. And we're going to install our woofer back in the cabinet. And it'll be our first opportunity, even though it's just one speaker, to hear it. Now, I'm not obviously not going to do the second one because it's the exact identical process. It is a long process. It is a dirty process. You're going to have speaker foam all over the place, which is kind of a mess. But the end result is so worth the effort when you're able to save a cool vintage speaker like this. So I will pause as I continue to get these edges down, and then we'll be back to glue the ring on. Well, our speaker's been sitting upside down on this rubber ring, the trim ring, for several hours, and it looks very well set up. Glue is still curing though, as you can see, there's a little bit of white stuff there, but it's nice and cured pretty much. It's not moving anymore, so I've tested it. Got no motion there. So we're just going to clean up our trim ring now, and we're going to get that installed, and then we can call this driver done. So I'm just going to clean up the back side of the rubber here with a little bit of alcohol. I've already done a little bit of scraping of it. There was some foam on here, so I've removed as much of the foam as possible. This is not this is merely cosmetic, so it's not a huge deal if there's a little bit of foam left on there. It's not a big deal. We just want to get it nice and clean so we get good adhesion to the metal basket and into the new foam. I think we're all the way around now. I'm just going to apply, once this dries up, apply a bead of Eileen's down this middle part here. And it's probably just going to stick to the foam. I might apply a bead to the basket as well, just around the edge, so we get adhesion there as well, just around this part. So we'll do kind of a two-part here. So we'll just set that on the floor to dry a little bit. I'll put our cone up here, and I'm going to run a bead on the metal part, and then we'll run a bead on the rubber itself, and it can adhere to the foam ring. I glued my arm now. Okay, something like that. Set that aside for a second. And now we'll apply a bead here. Something like that. And I think we're really done with our glue now. But of course, you're not going to be seeing me do the next driver. I have to do all this all over again. All right, so this is pretty simple. You just want to line up the notches with the screw holes. Make sure that the ring is sitting at the far end of the basket. If you have excess glue, no big deal. You're just going to get a Q-tip or something, and you're just going to mop it up like this. Paper towel. Looks like we're in business here. So all we're going to do now is we're going to let gravity work for us. And that's it. And we'll come back We'll get this puppy installed back in the cabinet. Welcome back to the bench. This is the biggest thing I've had on my bench. Got one of the DSS up here, and we're just going to have a peek inside. So that is the crossover for the base unit. And up there is the crossover for the mid-range and the tweeter unit. I was going to film a video of me checking these capacitors out, and I did check them all, and they're all measuring fine. So I had originally thought that maybe I would replace the caps. There's a large electrolytic here, another one there, and two there on the base unit. And up top here, there's one, two, I think, if there's 3 or 4 up here. I think there's 3. Yeah, 3. 1, 2, 3. They're all bipolar caps on the treater unit. Again, check them. They measure good. So at this point in time, I'm going to leave them. Now, if I was going to replace them, I was looking on solon.ca or .com, and I was looking at some polypropylene caps for replacements. They are available. I might do that if there's an issue with sound or whatever, but right now I'm leaving things stock. So we're going to put this woofer back in. This is a dual voice coil woofer, so there's actually 2 connectors for it. You probably saw that when I was working on the new foam for it, that there's 2 sets of terminals. One thing about these speakers I notice is that they're insulated down the sides, down the bottom, down the back. There's the port. They're insulated at the top, but the side with the tweeter here is bare. Now, I don't know if that's by design or if it's just a cost-cutting measure or whatever, but at this point, we're going to just leave it alone and see how everything sounds. Something you can do, you can buy this stuff, obviously, it's speaker foam. You can use fiberglass insulation as well. Just the regular pink stuff that's available at your hardware store. It actually works really, really well. The only problem with it is if you don't like how it feels on your fingers or whatever, it can get itchy. But once it's in there, it shouldn't bug anybody. But for now, we're just going to leave it like it is. I wouldn't say this is super thick insulation. It's thick enough, but I've seen better quality insulation on different kinds of speakers. So anyway, let me get this woofer in here. It's sitting down here. It's just been sitting on its face. That ring has adhered, so we're going to get that, we're going to put it in, and we're going to hook this puppy up and see what kind of sound we get out of it. Okay, we are in business here. The woofer has been reinstalled. I got it just hooked up on my bench system here. Obviously I don't have the other speaker done yet, so we're just testing the one. I'm going to try and keep the sound coming out of that realistic over there. You might hear a little bit of bleed through, but you're going to mostly get what's coming out of this this Pioneer DSS. So I'm going to strike up some YouTube library music here so I don't get a content strike. Why are you moaning so much? Stop moaning. Yes, you. Stop moaning. Anyway, let me strike that up, and we'll get going. Here we go. turn down the potentiometers. We'll take out the mid-range. And now we'll take out the ribbon tweeter. Back now. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm not sure what to say yet. This is not an optimal place to be testing speakers, obviously. But the bass drum's kicking. There's no distortion, got no rub. The glue is really still setting up on this ring here. I gave the cabinets just a quick rub down. I'm gonna give them a proper cleaning when we do the video for the grills, the fabric restoration on the grills. So we'll do that. In the meantime, I'm gonna do the other cabinet, get the woofer done, and I will catch you in part 3.